Texas state Republicans are proving once again that they are some Lone Star losers because they want to do fuck shit and gerrymander and redistrict the congressional maps to get rid of several Democratic seats because it's the only way they can win anything by cheating because they suck. Their policies suck. Nobody fucking likes them. They're lame. And so President Chester the molester over there in the White House used to hang out with Jeffrey Epstein before he didn't kill himself. He was like, yeah, y'all get to cheat and you fucking losers. And so they did. And the Democratic lawmakers in Texas said, fuck y'all, fuck your map, fuck your kitty diddling ass president. We're going to Illinois because J.B. Pritzker, who's the governor over there, said, come through. I got hotels. I got some resources. I'm going to help you out because if you break quorum, they can't do shit. What is quorum? That means there has to be enough people actually present in the Texas House to even pass anything, do anything. And now they can't do any fucking thing. And now
if Republicans are willing to rewrite these rules to give themselves an advantage, then they're leaving us no choice. We must do the same. There's a phrase, you have to fight fire with fire. That is a true statement of how we're feeling right now. And as I've said, another overused but applicable phrase, all's fair in love and war. That's why I'm exploring with our leaders every option to redraw our state congressional lines as soon as possible. Our state legislative leaders, Carol Heastie, Majority Leader Andre Stewart Cousins, they're on board, as are their members. We're already working on a legislative process, reviewing our legal strategies, and we'll do everything in our power to stop this brazen assault.
85 ayes in 6 days, the motion prevails. The sergeant at arms and any officers appointed by her are directed to send for all absentees whose attendance is not excused for the purposes of securing and maintaining their attendance under warrant of arrest if necessary until further order of the House.
shut the fuck
Welcome to another edition of Let It Be Known. Listen, it's time to bring Barrington back. And anybody who's watched when Barrington has been on, you know why I said that. But welcome, Niele.
Peace and love, everybody. That's right. I am Niele Anderson. This is Let It Be Known. We have tons of headlines to get through today. Texas is a huge story that is trickling across the United States. I mean, you know, you see what's happening in Texas. Now, we already know Governor Gavin Newsom is talking about drawing redistricting lines. We just saw the governor of New York. And for the next couple of days, we are going to be in Texas talking to some lawmakers and some advocates that are saying hail to the gnaw. And so
what?
Hail to the gnaw. And so, yeah, we're going to be talking about what's happening. And I think this is like another little fire that's swelling into a big one. And it might be an opportunity for folks to really put democracy to the test, Stacey.
Well, yes, Michelle Madison said, yes, bring Barrington back. Just so Niele is not aware, folks, but Barrington always used extremely blue language, and his thing was burn it all down. And this is now where we at, right? Burn it down. Bring it all down, and regardless of however language you want to use, bring it down. But Niele, more importantly, are Democrats finally getting on message? Are they finally standing up in a more unified way?
I just think they're responding to what's coming at them. And so we're getting an opportunity to see how they respond to certain situations. You know, for the past 6 months, we've just been like, okay, what's happening? But now there is opportunity for them to really respond. And as we see, I've been saying this all along, it's going to happen on a state and local level. And all of these national stories right now are based upon state and local politics. And so, yeah, we're seeing what, you know, the American people, the American legislators are made of.
Well, you know, I think what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing a lot of people say too, Niele, not necessarily the national lawmakers, but the governors are standing up more so than the Congress people, more so than the senators. But it seems like the governors, the Democratic governors, are the one who are standing up.
Yes, state and local politics. That's exactly what I'm saying. You know, it's state and local politics.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, as you said, they are now responding to what's happening. Isn't there an argument to be made though, Niele, that you saw all this coming. You had Project 2025 already, in your, you know, everybody was hipped to Project 2025 a long time ago. Did they just think it was some sort of a bluff on Trump and the MAGA Republicans part? I mean, this idea of reacting when there should have been many will say there should have been a lot of proaction. Be proactive to have curtailed at least a little bit of this stuff. Is that fair?
Well, I think, you're talking about two different things because, yeah, people were warned about Project 2025, but they still voted for Trump. You can't blame lawmakers for how people vote.
Well, I can blame them. Can I blame them for not being prepared?
Well, you didn't know how there is no rhyme or reason to this Trump administration. You could just go by his tweets at night. Last night he was tweeting about Gayle King. What does that have to do with anything that's happening across the nation? So, I think that, there's a certain level of having to be able to understand the situation that you're in. I think we can apply that to our day-to-day lives. You get put in a situation and it takes you a minute to adjust to what's coming at you, but what you fully understand the situation, then you can react. But I don't think that you can blame lawmakers for how voters responded. The Democratic Party told you, Kamala Harris told you, Black women told you, Black men told you, Democratic electeds all across this country told you, and the American people, minus Black folks, majority of Black folks, voted the opposite way. So this is really their fault that we have to get them out of.
But those in power, again, as you saw, they knew. So you can't count. What I'm saying is you can't count on, you can never count on voters, right? You can never count on things that when it comes to voting, I shouldn't say voters, but when it comes to voting, you can never count on something coming out your way. So you understand that Joe Biden and, like you said, Kamala Harris and the Democratic folks, all up and down, Schumer, they all know, Pelosi, they all knew that this stuff was coming. And if he won, and he won, so let's say he won, which he did in November, now you have 2 more months to really prepare a strategy. And until now, it seems like there hasn't really been a strategy.
But right now, what's happening is reactive. They're reacting and responding to what's thrown at them. And I think that, if we've been paying attention to the news and what lawmakers have been saying, based upon what happened in Trump 1.0, this is a different type of machine. It's a different type of machine. And so they are responding to what's coming at them. Yeah, but how can they have no power? I get what you're saying. They don't have the House, they don't have Congress, they don't have the Supreme Court, they don't have the executive branch, and Trump is basically taking over the media. So I'm not really understanding, what more you're asking of them to do.
Well, I'm asking that why is it that there was no plan to combat some of this stuff? And like you said, everything is reactive. That tells me that there's no plan. For instance, I bought a house in New Jersey, and not really understanding how bad the taxes were, which was my fault. I should have did my homework, right? And the mortgage was great. I got a great interest rate, 3.1%. And but the property taxes, it seemed like every other minute was going up. So guess what? I looked down the road. I could still more than afford the place, but I sold it. I planned, and I had a plan of action. I'm not going, you know what I'm saying? So they didn't seem to have a plan of action. That we knew we had the whole book, Project 2025. We had that for over a year. And they knew this was coming if this guy got into office. And all we're getting is what I'm saying is it seems all we're getting is reaction. Nobody had a plan in place to say, okay, when they strike here with Project 2025, we're going to strike here. We're going to do this. Now we're reacting, and it seems like it's not the lawmakers, but it's the governors who are saying, listen, here's our plan. And that seems to be the only plan. It's a good plan. What Hochul and Gavin Newsom, what those guys, what our homeboy in Maryland is doing. These governors seem to.
You're talking about Governor Westmore.
Westmore. It seems to me that these governors are doing. They had some sort of plan of action and not just reaction, right?
Everything they're doing is reactive, Stacey. Everything that they're doing is reactive.
But you have to have plan. The way they have done this stuff.
No, it's not planned, Stacey. The governor of Texas decided that he was going to change the maps because Donald Trump said to about a month ago, and he's doing it. And so the governors are reacting by saying, if you're going to redraw your lines, then so are we. It's reactive.
Okay. We like you said, we have a guest later in a little bit, and we're going to talk more about that. I want to go on to the great Sam P.K. Collins of the Washington Informer. He did a story that is really cool. In DC jail system, where nearly 90% of the population is Black, the Maya Angelou, however you want to pronounce it, Academy, pronounce it the right way, right? Academy is giving incarcerated young men a chance to earn high school diplomas, an opportunity long denied through systemic neglect. This program, created after a class action lawsuit, is more than a second chance. It's a challenge to the structures that fail Black youth before and after incarceration. So when nearly all the jailed are Black, education behind bars, it's not just reform, it's resistance. You guys can read more about that in Sam Collins' great story in the Washington Informer. You can read it today. But Neil, when you have programs like this, especially in a place like DC jail, the one thing people have to understand about DC, when somebody commits a crime or a sentence to jail or prison, when they sentence to prison, I should say, it's not in DC. They usually are shipped out somewhere really far off. And so while they are staying in the jail, they have put this program in place, and it is really helping folks a whole lot.
It's always good to see when jails and prisons are really doing what they're supposed to do, and that's rehabilitation. I think that our prison system has lost that focus. And so when we see this type of situation, it shows that people can be rehabilitated, especially for minor charges, right? And so, this is a perfect example of what rehabilitation in the prison and jail system is supposed to look like.
Absolutely. And again, I encourage everyone, if you haven't already, to go into WashingtonInformer.com and read Sam's story. In fact, when you click on and read Sam's story, click on his name and check out all the reporting this brilliant Black reporter does day in and day out. I can't say enough about Sam P.K. Collins. Check him out. Folks, also fans of NPR's beloved Tiny Desk concert series, well, you can breathe a sigh of relief that it's not going anywhere, according to show producer Bobby Carter. Carter went on his Instagram to address the growing concern that following news that the Corporation for Public Broadcasting is shutting down after over 50 years of federal support. The makers of Tiny Desk said that they continue to encourage everyone to support public media and to donate, but their series is going to remain. So, it's a time of cuts to public media. We still need these cultural staples like Tiny Desk now more than ever. At least many would argue that, Neil.
Yeah. What happened to Seth? Does this mean that Sesame Street is going away?
Well, you remember Sesame Street? What did they go to Netflix or something like that?
They did with Netflix.
Yeah. So it's no longer. You can't see it on PBS.
When does PBS officially go? I mean, I know it's going to officially go away. And it's good to see. Okay, so Sesame Street lives on, Tiny Desk lives on. And I love that they've created a space for themselves to where they can thrive outside of public funding. Of course, they still need it, but not as much.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I think it's a great thing.
Well, listen, they're still getting public funding. This the government that's cut off its
That's what I
funding.
said. But at the most part, they can still survive. You know,
Yeah,
this
we hope so. We certainly hope
for
so.
now.
That's for
For
sure.
now.
Yeah, yeah, we certainly hope so. But it is, as you said, it's good to see the Tiny Desk surviving, Sesame Street. Um, it's just really a shame what this administration has done. Just decimated life itself for everybody, even its supporters. And you get many of its this administration supporters are struggling now because of this administration, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah, it's just, you know, this whole situation as to every day we wake up and there's something else that is being taken away. And I just feel bad for, you know, we're talking about Tiny Desk and Sesame Street and PBS being taken away, but you know, hearts go out to the families who are having loved ones taken away. Imagine
Mhm,
that. You know, we're upset
mhm.
about Tiny Desk and Sesame Street, but it's somebody who's having their loved ones snatched up out of their house right now as we speak. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah. I think it's not so much of being upset that it's being taken away. It's everything that's being taken away, unnecessarily too. Like you said,
Yeah,
the
that's
life,
my point.
certainly lives. That's ridiculous. That's just extremely heartbreaking. And then all of these cultural programs that, when not necessarily Tiny Desk, but like you said, Sesame Street and others that kids
Museum,
raise generations of kids.
Black history being taken away,
Yeah.
just so much.
Absolutely. Also, folks, this morning in the news, LeBron James and Maverick Carter are launching a $5 billion international basketball league that will feature six men's and six women's teams traveling globally on a touring schedule, challenging the NBA's dominance. The league plans to offer players equity stakes in their teams and requires full-time commitment, which signals a bold move to reshape professional basketball into a global player-centered enterprise. So LeBron isn't just playing the game anymore. He's rewriting the rule book, creating a league where players thus they don't just suit up, but they own the team. How about that?
Yeah, I mean, LeBron has always been that type of guy. Just, you know, outside the box, being his own brand, understanding that LeBron James is just as important as a Cleveland Cavaliers. And so I think once LeBron decides to retire, he's going to be like a Magic Johnson. You know, he's going
Mhm.
to be a businessman. He is going to be a part of sports franchises. He is going to be like a Kobe Bryant and, you know, support women's basketball. He is a businessman. And I think that we're starting to see that he's more of a businessman or just as great of a businessman as he is an athlete.
Well, yeah, and this venture is going to be very interesting. And folks wondered why at 40, going on 41 years old, he opted into the last year of his contract. Was last year of his contract is going to pay him about $55 million, and plus the money he's making off the court with these sneaker deals and all these other deals. So that's just a little bit more money in the kitty for this new league that's going
And
to launch.
Yeah, and I also think it's all about his victory lap too. You know, everybody likes to have their victory lap. You know,
Oh yeah.
every stadium wave goodbye. You know, you get your jersey retired. So I mean, he deserves that. So you know, let him do his victory lap, and then he's gonna come out and. But I know it's hard. Like, look at Ice Cube. You know, the big three. It's taken him a long time to develop that. So you know, LeBron is taking on a huge undertaking with that. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But anything LeBron puts his hands on the business side, it seems to do extremely well.
Yeah, listen, he has the what is it called? The promise schools. He has which he does a great thing out in Ohio. I think is Akron. And He has other ventures. What is it, Spring Hill, I believe. He has all these other business ventures that seem to do well. You mentioned Magic Johnson. You know, there's Magic Johnson Enterprises, and everything that Magic Johnson seems to have touched has turned to gold. Really, I don't know a failed venture by Magic. You remember he started one of his first big forays was the Magic Johnson Theaters, and those were huge when they first came out. I don't know what happened to them. Maybe that's one of the ventures that failed. But movie theaters in itself have failed pretty much. I mean, well, at least have tanked because you got Netflix and the other guy over there, Bezos's crew at Amazon, and you got all this other streaming stuff, which people don't really go to the movies the way they used to, or at least plan to go to the movies the way they used to. So good for Magic, good for LeBron James. And the other common thread there is Los Angeles Lakers. I guess that franchise knows how to birth business people too.
For sure. And it'll be interesting to see how the season plays out. I know there are talks with the Lakers about making Luka now the face of the Lakers, and there was a headline saying LeBron is okay with that. But it'll be interesting to see the dynamics of how that team changes since it has new ownership, and they want to go in a different direction. And we know that LeBron still has his son on that team. So there's a lot of dynamics working here in LA that everybody's just sitting, with their arms crossed saying, let's see how this plays out.
Yeah, a couple of comments in the chat. I want to go back just a little bit. Nancy Wall says LeBron is always thinking forward. Dr. Nicole says, yes, it is a shame the things they are taking away, especially while the orange president is spending taxpayers' money for his personal business travel to update illegally donated planes and to make himself and his friends rich. No truer statement. Orange says he hopes this league, LeBron's league, works. And he says the NBA has light skin issues now. They only highlight the light skin brothers now. And Mike V says Sinners was the last good movie.
Oh, okay, Sinners. I like Sinners too.
Everybody was talking about Sinners. I've never seen it, but everybody's talking about it.
Right. So I think our guest is in. I think our guest is here. And so we started off the top of the show, Stacey, talking about Texas and the crisis of redistricting that's happening there. We know that the way the congressional maps have been drawn by the Republican Party, it pushes Jasmine Crockett out of her district. One of our most vocal voices in this country. They've been having to have tons of hearings that have been happening in the state. And our next guest was at one of the hearings. I'm talking about 27-year-old Isaiah Martin. He's actually running for Sheila Lee Jackson's prior seat, which was taken over by the former mayor, Sylvester Turner. So he's running for that seat. Sylvester Turner, as we know, passed away. But Isaiah was at one of the hearings, and he spoke so much truth to power that they arrested him. Take a look at what he had to say.
Martin. And it's very apparent that no one seems to know why we're here. It just seems as if many are just sitting here going with the emotions. And it makes sense because the game is rigged. We already know this way the situation is going to be. Many of you that are Republicans that are looking at you guys understand the game. You got to get Trump's endorsement. That's the name of the game to be a Republican nowadays. And you know very clearly that Trump told every single one of you that he needs 5 seats, is what he said. So why do we play this game where we come here to an empty chamber in which all of you pretend as if you don't know what's going on when you already know what the situation is? But the real conversation that we should be having, that I want every single one of you to understand, is that there will be a retaliation for that. You've seen states like California say that they will gerrymander Republicans out of their states. You see the same thing in Maryland. The same thing is going to happen in New York. While you were in here, Governor Kathy Hochul said that she will be gerrymandering Republicans out of their seats. The same thing is going to happen in New Jersey. So for all of the work that you guys see, that you guys claim to be doing, when we should be talking about the fact that we live in a state that is unaffordable for people. Our economy is wrecked. People cannot find good jobs. We literally have property taxes going up every single year, despite the fact that you Republicans have been in office for nearly 30 straight years. I mean, this is the game that we live in right here. And you choose, after we literally got after one of the worst mass casualty events in our state's history, to go and gerrymander people out of their seats. That's what you have chosen to do with your time, because you're scared of Donald Trump. You are scared and terrified because you're seeking an endorsement when you understand the truth. And the funny part about it is that you all know it's true. You can't react to it. I see you guys' faces. You can't react to it, but you all know what the situation is. Because Donald Trump runs this body. He runs your vote. He runs your vote. He runs your people of this state. The 40 million people that you guys just kicked
Witness will come to order.
The people of this state.
The witness is not recognized.
As a result of what you guys have done, this is a result of your policies. And you have no shame.
Okay.
You have no shame. None.
The witness.
Zero.
The witness.
You have no shame for what you've done. And I think that we all should be standing up here and
just cut off his mic. Cut off his mic. Okay. That the gentleman will come to order. We will maintain decorum. The gentleman will be reminded one last time. The gentleman will come to order immediately.
Let it be known, family. Welcome, Isaiah Martin. Welcome to the show. Your mic is muted. Try one more time. Unmute it.
How's that?
There we go. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. It's good to see you.
Yeah, I mean, powerful testimony. So we didn't see it. So after that, you were arrested. Is that what happened?
No, I was actually. After they got me to the ground not once but twice, they took me outside, and Officer Pillsbury Doughboy, as I call him, then comes up to me and tells me that I'm going to be placed under arrest. And I looked at him and I said, "What? For what?" And he said, "For trespassing," which I thought was crazy because we was in a state taxpayer-funded capitol at a hearing I was scheduled to speak at, and for resisting arrest, which they never told me I was under arrest. But they said that just to get something to put me in jail. And I was there for 30 hours, per se. The first 4 hours I spent actually with other inmates, which was chill because I actually ended up doing a town hall in jail and ended up talking about the issues of the day, talking about Congress. They were asking about tariffs, childcare, all that stuff like that. And then I spent the next 26 hours in which was effectively solitary confinement. So it's a crazy experience, but I ended up getting out, and the next day went up to those same Republican legislators who were right back this time in Houston to do this hearing, and I let them know that they weren't stopping anything.
Wow. Well, we see what's going on. As I said earlier in our discussion, seems like the governors, obviously not your governor, but the Democratic governors are really responding. Give me your view of what's the next steps. We know that the Republicans, the Democrats have left the state. We know that means that the Republicans don't have a quorum. Is there a way around that quorum, by the way?
Well, because if they don't have a quorum, they cannot pass. The Republicans cannot pass anything in the state legislature. So as long as the Texas state Democrats stay out of the state, the Republicans are screwed. And that's why I believe it's more imperative right now to fight fire with fire, and for blue states to start introducing their own maps that are gerrymandering Republicans out of their seats without mercy. Because look, I don't like gerrymandering, but at the end of the day, if it's between playing by the old rules and losing our health care, losing child care and everything else, I say no deal to that. So we got to get to work now, and we cannot wait until something else to be able to get this started.
So I had an opportunity to watch some of the hearings from this past Friday, and the way that those white men were talking to individuals that were testifying was quite offensive to me. I felt like I was looking at a hearing from 1930. Can you talk about how you felt and just how those white lawmakers, interact at these hearings, at these public hearings for redistricting.
Well, I'll tell you what really, I guess, set me off was, I sat in that hearing room for about 4 hours before I was able to speak. And I watched them not paying attention to people. There were grandmas that had driven hours to go and testify and say, look, you Republicans have already, cut Medicaid and everything else. Now you're trying to change the lines to make my voice matter less. Like, this is not what I want. And I watched them laugh. I watched them smirk. I watched them play on their phones. I watched them just get up and leave in the middle of people speaking. And I thought it was unacceptable because these Republican idiots don't realize that they work for the people. It's not the other way around. We don't serve them. They work for us. And ultimately, they weren't paying attention. And so that's why I just felt it was more than imperative, not just to go up there and, I guess, whine and complain, but to really talk about what it really is about, why they're doing this. They're doing this because they're weak and they're afraid of Donald Trump. And they will do anything and screw over anybody in exchange for that endorsement. So, look, ultimately, it ended up backfiring on them tremendously. It didn't work. All charges ended up getting dropped. And now millions of people are talking about just how insane this whole proposition was.
Yeah, Isaiah, I asked this of a lot of folks when it comes to, because what you're saying is absolutely true. Obviously, they are afraid of this guy. Why are they so afraid to stand up? In any of them, you might find a Mitt Romney say something here or there, but is he really taking a stand? You're not going to find many of these Republicans who are going to, any of them really, is going to really take a stand. Why is that? And have you ever, I know you haven't been around 30, 40 years, but have you ever seen or heard of anything like this before?
Well, no, I haven't. But the one thing I will say is that the reason is because they understand in the Republican Party, the Trump endorsement is king. One Trump tweet can end their entire life's work of political, work, to say the least. And ultimately, they know that they care about power and the ability to hold a title more than they care about the people they serve. So that means that if Trump says that I need you to go get rid of these 5 seats, then they'll do that. If Trump says that he wants to throw 19 million people off their health care, they'll do that. They will do anything in order to keep their seats. And that's why Trump goes through such great lengths to punish anybody that shows dissent. He'll endorse against them. He'll raise money against them. He'll do rallies against them. And they're terrified. So these Republicans realize that they don't want to lose their seats, and they'll screw over anybody to do that in the process.
Mm-hmm. So we have a dictator.
Of course.
So at 27, does that make you a millennial or a Gen Zer?
It makes me a Gen Zer.
Okay, there we go. Let's start there. As a Gen Zer, I know the concept of redistricting and gerrymandering. It's hard to comprehend. So I'm wondering if you could put into layman's terms to the millennials and Gen Zers looking at Texas, how does gerrymandering and redistricting impact the voter? And how are the lines being drawn to where it's disenfranchising people of color?
Absolutely. Well, so for me, I spent 4 years with Congresswoman Jackson Lee, and so I was her senior advisor. And through that experience, Republicans had tried to do this in 2021, and that attempt failed. But ultimately, now they're trying to do this again. So I kind of have some experience in dealing with this. And ultimately, this is about understanding that the Republican Party is extremely unpopular. The policies that they just passed in their big ripoff bill that we just saw are very unpopular. People don't like them. Trump is the most unpopular president at this point in a presidency in American history. We have seen that the Republicans are down 8 points in the next midterms. They're getting cooked. They're destroyed. They are literally burning in the wind. And ultimately, they understand that if they don't do anything to try to give themselves some type of advantage in that next election, they're going to get wiped out. How do I know this? In 2018, when Trump last was in the White House, they lost 41 seats. So that memory is burned in their mind. They remember it very well, and they don't want it to happen again. So they want to try to find a way to extend their window because they know that if Democrats win this midterm, the Trump presidency is over. Their policies will not be able to get worse, that they will be able to pass. We'll be able to block a lot of stuff, and they don't want that. So they're looking to steal seats, whether it's in Texas, whether that's in Florida, whether that's in Kansas. I saw that they're talking about doing something like that in Missouri. They're trying to find avenues to do this. So ultimately, this is because they know that you, the people, are about to exercise your voice to throw Republican lawmakers out of their seats without mercy and without any thought about what insanity they're trying to propose next. And so they're trying to do everything they can to stop that and to stop you from being able to really go forward and make your voice heard.
Wow. Well, Isaiah Martin, I mentioned the dictatorship and Trump. Dr. Nicole writes in that ultimately Trump is also backed by other very powerful people, so who they also need and fear. So she says, let's not think that this is only Trump. He is almost just a figurehead for them. I would like you to respond to that.
I mean, I think that's 100% right. I think Trump is a puppet. I've always believed that, you know, the people like the Heritage Foundation, people like Stephen Miller, you know, and all the crazy sycophants, Peter Thiel. I mean, there's a whole list of them that are doing everything they can to advance their agenda. That's why, you know, I'm a different kind of Democrat per se, and I look forward to the day of holding these guys accountable the moment they get out of office. You know, I think that, you know, not enforcing accountability against these guys is very harmful for our democracy. It's harmful for our country and has real costs. And so for those folks, they better realize that Trump's not going to be in office forever. And there's going to be a different kind of generation of Democrats that will be waiting for that day to make accountability known.
You mentioned you're a different type of Democrat. We know that you are running for Congress. What type of Congress member would you be if elected?
Well, ultimately, you know, I'm very serious about standing up against this ridiculous, you know, felon in the White House. I'm really serious about standing up against his policies. But I think it's also very important, as Barbara Jordan once said, that the American people deserve more than a recital of problems. Right. So we have to give people a reason to vote for something and not just to get something, and really deliver on that. So my whole agenda has been to make America more affordable. That's MAMA like your mama. And ultimately, that means seriously. I mean, we got to guarantee health care in this country because it makes no sense that we're paying so much. We got to guarantee child care in this country. We got to raise the minimum wage, not just to a sustainable amount, but make sure that we're not waiting 10 years for another one and tie it with the cost of living every single year. We have to be talking about making sure that we can bring tuition-free community colleges and trade schools. We've got to be talking about building millions of more housing to make sure that we can get a reduction in rent. I mean, all these things will be very important for people to make sure that they're not paying so much. And as this new generation of jobs comes through and we're going to have this on the horizon, we have to be talking about creating a real training structure in place with community colleges that are tuition-free and available for people to go get training for the jobs of tomorrow. And lastly, Social Security, we want to make sure that we protect it, but not just make sure that it stays the same, make sure that it goes up so people get more dollars in their pocket. So I'm all about making this country more affordable, making sure that people can just truly have some tangible things to not just get by in America, but as Kamala Harris once said, but also get ahead. I think we've really got to stay focused on delivering that agenda, because I think what's really important is that if we beat Donald Trump, which I very expect that we will do in 2028, if we do not deliver in that next 4 years and truly change the lives of people, then we're going to end up back in this mess back in 2032, and that's unacceptable. So we've got to win this election. We've got to win it by big margins, and we've got to truly transform America. And I look forward to being a part of doing that.
Yeah, Isaiah Martin, isn't it just as important? You talk about the midterms next year, that both chambers flip, right? Because this president seems to be doing a lot of his damage even without his Congress, without his House of Representatives. He's going around them because he has the Supreme Court. He's this king that is able to skirt laws. Right. So isn't it important to have both? Because in other words, would one be enough? Would getting a house be enough?
Well, he has to have the House to be able to pass a budget, and that's where the majority of the damage legislatively has come through. Because they passed this budget reconciliation bill, the big ripoff bill that has basically screwed over America. So that will be the majority of the damage. Now, look, the Republicans are going to continue their legal challenges, which is going to be very difficult, and they're going to continue their work elsewhere. But in terms of being able to pass stuff legislatively, that ability will end with us taking back control of the House. Now, look, there's a lot of seats up for grabs in the Senate. I look forward to North Carolina flipping with Roy Cooper in that race. I just got news that Sherrod Brown in Ohio is probably going to run again for the Senate, which is good news for us. I think Susan Collins is finally going to lose in Maine. And so we got to look for other places. Look, in Texas, we got Ken Paxton, who's probably going to be our nominee. Very unpopular, always the worst performing Republican on the ballot. So there's a lot of good things that is on the horizon. I think that's why it's just so imperative that people are registered to vote. They're getting ready to vote, and they're telling their friends that we cannot screw this up and fall for the okie doke, because it's coming, and we just got to go past it and make sure that we're standing up for what's right.
Let's stay on the Democratic Party a little more. A lot of Democrats are unhappy with the leadership. And we know that David Hogg, former vice chair, left because he wanted to run a lot of new candidates against incumbents. What are your thoughts about that? And what are your thoughts of the Democratic Party and its leadership overall right now?
Well, I think that one person shouldn't be the arbiter of effectiveness, right? So as I am a young candidate and I do look forward to ushering in that new leadership in Washington, I also recognize that there are older folks in Congress that are still very effective. People like Maxine Waters, somebody who's doing a very good job on the Financial Services Committee. And I don't really think it should be up to one person to determine whether or not someone like that is effective. But what I will say is that my whole agenda really in Congress will be to try to make elections more competitive, to make sure that we can make sure that if someone is not serving their constituents, whether they're young or they're old, the people have the ability to get them out. That means getting money out of politics. That means mandating debates for congressional elections. That means putting spending limits on congressional elections. All of that stuff will make sure that if someone can truly serve, then they have to really go forward and earn the trust of the people every single time, per se. And so the Democratic Party as a whole, I think we've got a lot of work to do. I think that people need to see us not just as an anti-Trump party, but more as a I'm going to make your life better party. Because ultimately, we cannot be up for continuing a status quo that's just not working. Because if our message, again, in 2028 and 2026 is to just simply stop Trump, well, we're going to lose. Because people are going to be like, well, what impact does that have on my life? So I just say that, look, yes, we want to stop Trump, but also we're going to make America more affordable. We have to be able to focus on affordability and not just talk about it, but actually do it. And I think we got to be bold. So, I'm always one of those guys who believed in what Franklin Roosevelt said, that America needs bold and persistent experimentation. And I think that we need to continue that approach moving into the future. Because if you look at when we really had Democratic dominance in this country, it was because we really went forward. We had bold ideas. We did things regardless of what the Republican naysayers said. We did it anyway, and I think we got to bring that audacity back.
And Isaiah, how much longer does the folks in your state, Texas, have to suffer under the stewardship of Mr. Abbott?
Well, that's a good question. I think it'll depend on the person that we nominate. I don't know exactly who that's going to be as of right now. But what I will say is that, Republicans in Texas have been an utter total failure. I mean, property taxes have gone up every single year for folks in Texas. The economy is not great. It's cost people money all of the time. And I think we got to run somebody that focuses on the economy. Talk about how the fact that, we have one of the worst healthcare disparities in the entire nation. We got to talk about that. And until we really make that a focus of our campaign, it's going to be difficult. But look, I do feel very confident in the new leadership that we have statewide. We have a new party chair, Kendall Scudder, who's been doing a very good job. I know that the party has been setting the tone with messaging that's been very effective recently. And look, it will depend on who's our nominee. I don't know who that's going to be, but I suspect if we make a campaign that's very strong, that's focused on reaching out to everybody in every different form possible, that's bold and is focused on truly transforming the economy, I think we'll be very successful.
And just circling back to redistricting, what's next? Are there more hearings? We know that there are certain lawmakers in New York, Chicago. We know some of them are there. What's the long game? What's the short game? What's next in this whole redistricting conversation in Texas?
Well, unfortunately, I mean, there's no more hearings. There's no more anything like that. That's over. The only thing that comes next is a floor vote. Now, the question is when that will happen. I don't know. The Republicans, the Democratic lawmakers are out of the state, and it will depend on how long they can stay there. I don't know the answer to that question, but if they can stay there for long enough, effectively, they could definitely prevent this from being able to go forward. So I think that we just have to continue to fight. We got to make sure that we can do every means possible to make sure we can stop this. But then also have blue states across the country get ready to do the work to go and get these Republicans back.
What's long enough, Isaiah Martin? What's long enough?
Well, I think effectively you probably would have to be through the March primary. So I would say probably that would be the time. I know others have floated past the end of the year. I mean, so it'll be very interesting to say the least. I don't know.
Well, I mean, thank you for joining us. You're definitely what it means to be young, gifted, and Black. Good luck on your candidacy, and we'd love to have you back in the near future.
Absolutely. I'd love to be back. Thanks for having me on. And if folks want to find me on our campaign, they go to isaiahmartin.org, ISAIAHMARTIN.org. They can chip it to the campaign, sign up to volunteer. It means a lot.
Peace and love.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Bye-bye. All right, we have a few more headlines to get through. Since we're talking about politics, redistricting, and elections, in a fake hypothetical third-term matchup, Obama beats Donald Trump. Okay, now in an imaginary presidential rematch, former President Barack Obama would decisively defeat Donald Trump by 11 points, according to a new national poll. So Donald Trump, we already know that he is trying to, he revealed in his office 2028. So that might be a FAFO situation for him, because if he can run, that means so can Barack Obama. But the question is, would Michelle let him?
Well, it's funny you mentioned all that. I didn't even know you were going to mention this morning. But there's going to be a story that I have been working on, and I wrote for Black Press USA that you will see later today about this very topic, Obama and Trump, and the possibility of a 2028 showdown.
Okay. Well, so far Obama is winning in the imaginary poll. And speaking of more Trump clan news, Eagles running back Saquon Barkley has declined Donald Trump's invitation to serve on his council on sports, fitness, and nutrition, adding that he was shocked. Take a look at this.
To the council on sports, fitness, and nutrition. What was behind that?
A couple months ago, it was brought to my team about the council, so I'm not really too familiar with it. I felt like that, going to be super busy. So, me and my family thought probably it's the best interest to not accept that. So was definitely a little shocked when my name was mentioned. But, I'm assuming it's something great. So I appreciate it, but was a little shocked when my name was mentioned.
Come on, the president named you to the...
That's no surprise.
So during a news conference announcing the council, Trump named Barkley as a member of the council, along with NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, Pro Football Hall of Famer Lawrence Taylor, Wayne Gretzky's name was on here. But the interesting thing is, after hearing Saquon, did they talk to any of these individuals before they put their names on this council? Is the question now.
Lawrence Taylor. Well, and not even Lawrence Taylor, because you remember when we played that clip of Lawrence Taylor and his disgusting capitulation to Trump. He said he didn't even know why he was there. So even him as a Trump supporter didn't know why he was there, and it was for him to be on this council. And Lawrence Taylor is a convicted child sex predator, by the way.
Yeah. So, I mean, none of these people probably know that they're on this imaginary council that Trump has trumped up. And I mean, and now he has their name out there as if they're allies when they have no idea what's going on. This is American leadership, folks.
This is horrible.
And so now here's more things that the Trump administration, we're talking about all the things that are impacting us by him. Here's another one, folks. Procter & Gamble, the makers of several household staples, including Tide detergent and Charmin toilet paper, is hiking prices because of Trump's tariffs. Now, the company revealed in an earnings meeting that its profits will take a $1 billion hit because of the tariffs, a larger cost the company originally projected in June. Now, as a result, Procter & Gamble will increase prices on about 25% of its products going into effect next month. So we are the trickle down, the immediate impact is there, and so is the trickle down effect for this Trump plan.
This guy, as I said earlier, I mean, he has just destroyed American life. You could, an enemy of the United States would say, thank you, Donald Trump. Would say thank you, would send him flowers for doing the job that they couldn't do for centuries. And that is destroy the United States.
I mean, and Stacey, those are your headlines for today.
Gosh. Well, folks, some Black history facts. On this date in 1892, Harriet Tubman received a pension from Congress because of her work as a nurse, spy, and scout during the Civil War. So on this date in 1892, Harriet Tubman got a little reparations.
Got our reparations. Okay, they out there. Let's claim them. All right. On this date in 1928, William Alexander Scott II founded the Atlanta Daily World. Now, it was the first successful African-American daily newspaper, and the Atlanta Daily World fiercely reported on critical issues facing the Black community, including, now this is 1928 to 1930s, and this is what the Atlanta Daily World was talking about: lynching, police brutality, the Scottsboro Boys trial, discrimination in the federal government, and school segregation. I mean, does it ring a bell in 2025, Stacey? But the publication is now a weekly publication. But at that time, it spoke truth to power on a daily basis for our Black communities.
Yep. And there you have it. Dr. Joni says a great article recently on how economically illiterate Trump is regarding tariffs. They are nothing more, she says, than a tax, which so many people knew that, right? On American people. And she says Vladimir Putin is saying thank you. So that's what I'm saying.
Reverend Shields has the chat fired up too. You know, he's Team Trump, and so he got everybody in the chat fired up. Get him, y'all. No, I'm just playing.
Okay.
All are welcome here. We love a good debate. We love a good debate over here. We ready.
We ready? Okay. Our Black-owned newspaper of the day, speaking of, is the Atlanta Daily World, the oldest African-American newspaper in Atlanta, Georgia. It was founded in 1928 by William Alexander Scott II. The paper provides news and commentary focused on the African-American community, playing a crucial role in covering events and issues pertinent to Black Americans. And it was very prominent during the Jim Crow South. So the Atlanta Daily World is our Black-owned newspaper of the day.
All right. And, of course, Stacey said he's dropping that story about a hypothetical poll between Trump and our beloved forever first president, Barack Obama. So be sure to check that out later on this afternoon. And of course, we have the headlines that are important, impacting, and uplifting the Black experience. All you have to do to find those stories is head over to www.blackpressusa.com.
All right. We'll see you again tomorrow. Thanks for joining. Let it be known.